Even the most formidable heroes can possess quirky powers, but some heroes and villains make you question whether their abilities truly qualify as super. While having any power is arguably better than having none, these abilities are undeniably strange, like 4D Man, and in some cases, downright revolting. Here's a rundown of the weirdest and most unsettling superpowers found in comic books. Two comic book characters, both from DC, have powers linked to manipulating colors. Color Kid from the Legion of Substitute Heroes and Rainbow Girl. Color Kid, whose real name is Ulu Vak, was just an average individual until he was hit by a beam of light from another dimension, granting him the unique ability to change the color of any object on command. While his power isn't entirely without merit, he once altered the hue of a kryptonite cloud, enabling Superboy and Supergirl to safely return to Earth. It's safe to say it wouldn't prove useful in most situations. Rainbow Girl doesn't exactly control colors directly. Her abilities are tied to the emotional spectrum, allowing her to channel specific emotions and their associated colors, such as red for rage. In her debut, she emitted a rainbow-like pheromone field that made her irresistible to anyone around her. However, her powers also come with a downside, causing dramatic and unpredictable mood swings. Marvel's X-Force boasts two mutant members with acid-related abilities derived from their bodily functions. Tyke Alucard, also known as Anarchist, could produce acid through his sweat, which he weaponized to unleash electrochemical energy on his enemies. Meanwhile, Zeitgeist had the unfortunate power to generate acid in his vomit. To manage this, he wore a protective mouthpiece as part of his costume. Although his acid could melt through thick steel, Zeitgeist always had to worry about accidental mishaps, like the time he vomited during a makeout session. If you've ever dreamed of unlimited eating, super eating powers might sound like the ultimate dream, and surprisingly, they show up fairly often in comics. DC Comics introduces us to two characters from the planet Bismal with the ability to consume any material: Matter Eater Lad and Calorie Queen. The people of Bismal evolved this peculiar ability as a survival mechanism. Unlike Matter Eater Lad, Calorie Queen has an added edge. She can convert the energy from what she eats into super strength thanks to a scientific experiment. Marvel's answer to the super eating trope is the mutant maggot. Instead of a typical digestive system, Maggot relies on two maggots or slug-like creatures that leave his body, consume anything in sight, and then return. When the slugs re-enter his body, the energy they've digested gives him superhuman strength, a highly effective, if undeniably painful, ability. Comic books are also home to characters who can transform into bizarre and seemingly useless objects. DC's Stone Boy has often been ridiculed for his power to turn himself into solid rock. For much of his early run, Stone Boy could only become an immobile stone figure, as shown here laying on an enemy. A trait that wasn't particularly helpful in combat, requiring quick movement. Eventually, he learned how to move in his stone form. Another quirky DC character, Bouncing Boy, has the power to inflate his body into a sturdy spherical ball. Can't forget about Eiffel Ethel. Remember her and her eerie face covered with eyes? And then there's Milson's Fat Man, the human flying saucer who can transform into a flying saucer, enabling him to travel at supersonic speeds and deflect bullets with ease. Villains have also embraced the realm of strange and seemingly pointless powers. A Marvel mutant known as Ice Cream could transform himself into any flavor of liquid ice cream, a quirky ability that at least made for quick escapes. Having control over just one specific object or type of object is another oddly common superpower in the comic world. Take Marvel's El Guapo, for instance. As a member of X-Statix, his abilities were entirely channeled through his trusty skateboard. Similarly, Razorback, another mutant, possesses the innate talent to operate any vehicle with ease. Then there's Mr. Midnight, whose odd power lets him stop all watches and clocks within earshot. Unfortunately, his abilities don't extend to halting actual time, just the devices that track it. Perhaps the most peculiar superhero with dominion over a useless object is Marvel's Almighty Dollar. Once a regular CPA named J. Pennington Pennypacker, he gained the bizarre power to shoot streams of pennies from his hands after attending a camp run by a mad scientist. Another odd category of powers involves altering only a single part of one's body rather than the whole. For example, Marvel's Ruby Thursday can transform just her head. This villainous character replaced her original head with a pliable, organic computer made of malleable plastic, granting her the ability to shape-shift her head into various forms. Her head has transformed into a variety of bizarre shapes, including giant lips, a sword, and even a pair of wings. It's also been known to sprout arms, tentacles, and other odd appendages. Most impressively, Ruby Thursday can make her head explode or detach it to hover independently above her body. On the topic of detachable body parts, DC Comics' Arm Fall-Off Boy takes the spotlight. True to his name, he can remove his limbs and use them as makeshift weapons. Often regarded as one of the most absurd characters in comic history, Arm Fall-Off Boy famously became the first Legion reject after his powers caused his body to fall apart during his audition. He's not alone in the Detachable Body Club, though. Redbud Studios' Mr. Jigsaw also has the ability to remove body parts, but his power is far more impressive since he retains full control over his detached limbs. Meanwhile, Marvel's Mutant Marrow doesn't remove limbs but can grow bones, extract them, and wield them as weapons. We'll talk about her more a little later in this video. Don't be deceived by Novar's athletic physique and youthful charm. This hero hides a truly grotesque secret. Known as Marvel Boy, Novar is a Kree super soldier from an alternate reality who has undergone extensive genetic engineering, as is customary for Kree soldiers. In his case, the enhancements include a genetic splice with one of Earth's most resilient creatures, the cockroach. Fortunately for Marvel Boy, his insect-like abilities are subtle and mostly manifest in his uncanny ability to skitter up walls, much like Spider-Man. The part cockroach young hero became a member of the Guardians of the Galaxy in 2020's Guardians of the Galaxy issue 1, where he revealed to Rocket Raccoon yet another strange ability. His spit acts as a psychedelic drug. While some mutants develop extraordinary powers like transforming into living ice or emitting energy beams from their eyes, others take a more unusual turn. Take Glob, for instance, who made his debut in 2001's New X-Men issue 117. When Glob's X gene activated, his body morphed into a translucent mass of living wax. The exception is his skeleton and most of his internal organs, which remain visible, suspended inside his oversized, waxy form. This wax is flammable, and Glob can tear off pieces to hurl as weapons. Despite his grotesque, sci-fi monster-like appearance, Glob is surprisingly kind-hearted, with a personality that stands in stark contrast to his looks. Richard Deacon, a former small-time criminal, was gravely injured during a clash with Spider-Man and the NYPD. Saved by experimental science, Deacon's DNA was fused with that of a housefly to save his life. Now known as the human fly, he gained all the abilities you'd imagine: buzzing wings for flight, compound eyes for enhanced vision, and the unsettling ability to regurgitate acid to aid in digestion. Deacon's transformation into the human fly gradually consumed his humanity, and by the time we reach Peter Parker, the spectacular Spider-Man issue 86, he had resorted to eating literal garbage straight off barges. Angelo Espinosa is another mutant whose powers are far from visually appealing. Known as Skin, his gift consists of over 6 feet of loose, elastic skin hanging from his body, which he can stretch, wrap, contort, expand, and compress at will. With great effort and concentration, Skin has learned to tighten his epidermis to appear somewhat normal. Though, without this control, he looks like a melted candle. This mutation is hard to conceal, a significant challenge in a world rife with anti-mutant prejudice. In Generation X issue 50, Skin came up with a creative excuse. His sagging, gray skin isn't due to his mutation, but because he was bitten by a radioactive elephant. Marvel has a long history of insect-themed characters, with Ant-Man and the Wasp being among the original Avengers. However, Buck Mitty took his connection to arthropods to a whole new level. As Humbug, Mitty not only communicated with insects, but also mimicked insect-like sonic abilities using his exoskeletal suit. While employing New York City's cockroaches as a spy network is already unsettling, Mitty cemented his place on this list in 2007's Heroes for Hire. In that storyline, Humbug was horrifyingly transformed into a part insect hybrid to serve as a host for brood eggs inside his body. The ordeal was so harrowing that Humbug begged for release, and Shang-Chi mercifully ended his life at his request. Sarah Rushman's mutant ability grants her full control over her skeleton. As the X-Man Marrow, she can manipulate the shape, density, and growth of her bones. Unfortunately, the rest of her body doesn't adapt to this process beyond a rapid healing factor, meaning her bones erupt from her flesh violently, much like a compound fracture. Despite its gruesome nature, Marrow's power is incredibly versatile. She can mold her bone protrusions into armor, claws, or even knives that she can break off for immediate use. Her strength was on full display in 2014's X-Force issue 5, where she saved her team from a massive explosion by creating an impenetrable bone wall in mere moments. Toxie, who once impersonated Scarlet Witch in the 2012 Dark Avengers series, has no ties to magic. Her abilities come from self-inflicted genetic experiments. John Covington's experiments left her with toxic blood so lethal that even a touch can kill. Her grotesque powers go far beyond her blood. Her breath can melt flesh. She surgically implanted gills into her body. She can contort unnaturally by dislocating her joints at will, and her bones are soft and flexible, cushioning her against impacts. Iron Fist stands as the champion of Kunlun, one of the 7 capital cities of heaven. But in the 2006 Immortal Iron Fist series, readers were introduced to the immortal weapons from the other cities, including the chilling bride of 9 spiders. A master martial artist like her peers, the bride wields a particularly unsettling ability fueled by her chi, said to be unimaginably cold. She can unleash swarms of spiders from her chest and spew endless waves of them from her mouth. Mutant Harry Pizer once shared a super stretchy epidermis similar to Skin's. However, in 2010's Uncanny X-Force issue 22, it was revealed that the Captain Britain Corps had him gruesomely flayed alive, stripping him of his superpowered skin and leaving him in a horrifying state, his raw flesh permanently exposed. This didn't completely strip Pizer of his mutant abilities. Without his skin to manipulate, the skinless man adapted by using the next best thing, his raw, exposed muscles. He can stretch and contract his muscles nearly as effectively as he once could with his skin, often shaping them into gruesome, grasping tendrils of flesh. Soft Serve has a truly unique power. She produces ice cream, any and every flavor imaginable. If you can picture a flavor, Soft Serve can provide it, straight from her butt. Those bold enough to taste her unconventional creations often find them delicious. One such brave soul was Forge, who declared in X-Men 2021 that Soft Serve's desserts were the best damn ice cream I've ever had. Interestingly, creator Bob Quinn has hinted that Soft Serve's ability may not involve actual defecation at all. Her body might simply serve as a portal to an ice cream dimension, with the exit located in an unfortunate spot. The Rat of 12 Plagues is repulsive in every sense of the word. He was the second chi-infused champion Daniel Rand encountered during the Iron Fist 2017 storyline, The Trial of the Seven Masters. As a child, the future rat hid from invading soldiers by burrowing into a pile of corpses, surviving by consuming rotting flesh. During this ordeal, he didn't just resist disease, he became one with it. His mere touch spreads debilitating, revolting illnesses, and he commands a swarm of rats capable of infecting others with the same afflictions. While his plagues can cause swift and excruciating death, the Rat of 12 Plagues prefers his victims alive so he can devour them. Though Earth One's Lana Lang wields a magical ring, and Lana Lang is a future Xanthuan hero with innate abilities, both versions of Insect Queen share a strange limitation. They can only transform the lower halves of their bodies into the thorax of an insect or arachnid. Neither iteration has achieved much recognition, likely due to the peculiar nature of their powers. Lana's version of Insect Queen is even stranger than Lana's. She can only channel the powers of a specific arthropod once per day, meaning spinning webs or delivering a sting is a one-time event until the next day. And finally, we have Snowflame, whose powers include superhuman strength, speed, durability, pyrokinesis, and, most bizarrely, a cocaine-fueled touch. That's right, Snowflame gains his abilities by snorting cocaine. As long as he remains high, he can use his enhanced powers, but when he sobers up, he loses them entirely. So what do you think of this list of the weirdest and grossest powers from Marvel and DC? If you think we missed some other characters, share your thoughts in the comments below.